Throughout the 60s, every family in the U.S. knew someone who was affected by the Vietnam War. It was a confusing conflict that had dragged on and gotten worse since the mid-1950s. At the height of the war, Jimi Hendrix spoke for young Americans by using his moment at the Woodstock Music Festival to channel the hopes and fears of a nation trying to cope with an uncertain future. Today, we're going to look inside Jimi Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner performance and discover why it was such an important American event. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below what music stories you would like to hear about. Now, we go to Monday, August 18th, 1969, to a dairy farm in Bethel, New York. It's very far away. It takes about half a day to get there if we travel by my Dragonfly. Accompanied by a band that was assembled less than 2 weeks before Woodstock, Hendrix thought he was going to go on stage on Sunday night. Woodstock was never supposed to extend into Monday morning, but due to traffic, rain delays, and the fact that most people behind the scenes were, at the very least, stoned, the festival was hours behind schedule. Jerry Velez, Hendrix's new conga player, remembers the wait backstage. Every 3 hours, they'd come and they'd say, "Hey, you about ready to go on in 10 minutes?" Hendrix's band, which he was calling Gypsy Sun and Rainbows, eventually took the partially reconstructed stage at 9 in the morning, the least rock and roll hour of the day. Before the band began their set with Message to Love, Velez noted the battlefield before him. You could see a whole universe filled with sleeping bags and trash and bras and bathing suits, food strewn everywhere, prophylactics everywhere. The thing is, Hendrix, Velez, and the rest of the band were playing for 30,000 people, only 7% of the crowd that attended the festival. What happened was that after Crosby, Stills, and Nash finished their Monday set at 4 in the morning, most people started heading home. Even the draw of Hendrix, the world's highest-paid rock star in 1969, couldn't keep most people from leaving. Only 30,000 Woodstock attendees had the endurance to withstand the rain and the 30-minute set by Sha Na Na that came before Hendrix. Many who've seen the Woodstock footage think that Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner was an improvisational addition to his set list, thrown in between Voodoo Child and Purple Haze. Not true. The song had been in his set list for months. It's estimated that Hendrix performed the piece at least 70 times, with its debut at the Merriweather Post Pavilion on August 16, 1968. Its last known performance took place in Hawaii on August 1, 1970, almost a year after Woodstock. Hendrix sometimes retitled his renditions of the anthem, "This is America," and his arrangements were as unrestricted as they were laser-focused. They could be as short as 3 minutes or as long as 6.5. He even recorded a studio version of the song on March 18, 1969, at the record plant in New York City, which was released posthumously on the 1971 soundtrack LP, Rainbow Bridge. This prog rock version sounds more like early Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but it gives a few clues as to the power Hendrix saw in the song. Woodstock wasn't marketed as a Vietnam War protest, but make no mistake, it was the festival's main subtext. Throughout the weekend, musicians would voice their thoughts on the war and the government. But Hendrix didn't say anything about the Vietnam War. He was never one to vocalize his political thoughts. Instead, he used his guitar in his cover of the American national anthem as his message. About an hour into the set, Hendrix and his band launched into Voodoo Child, Slight Return. It was a blistering 13-minute version which kind of drifted off into the opening bars of the Star-Spangled Banner. 1 minute into the song, the part where the lyrics go, "and the rocket's red glare," Hendrix launched into a screeching freeform solo, recreating the sounds of fighter jets, airborne bombs, screams, sirens, and a wall of general cacophony. After 80 seconds of aural chaos, Hendrix slipped back into the song for a few more bars before he started playing taps, the traditional bugle call played at every military funeral. Taps was a recent addition to Hendrix's version of the Star-Spangled Banner. Although he never commented on it, it seemed like the ex-paratrooper was calling attention to the nearly 43,000 soldiers who had already died, despite Washington's repeated claims that the war was being won easily. Before we analyze Hendrix's version of the U.S. national anthem any further, let's give it context. In 1969, it meant everything to the generation that fought and endured World War II. It was so revered, it was practically considered a national prayer. That's why musicians who diverged from the standard version were seen as obscene and disrespectful by the mainstream media. Not a year before Hendrix's Woodstock set, musician Jose Feliciano received extensive backlash after opening Game 5 of the 1968 World Series in Detroit with a soulful, folksy rendition of the anthem. Since the event was aired on live TV, negative feedback flooded in from all over the country. Feliciano's career was eventually salvaged, but his reputation was blemished forever. Compared to Hendrix, Feliciano's version was like a campfire song at a church retreat. If Americans thought Feliciano disrespected the United States, they probably thought Hendrix was the Antichrist, sent to end democracy once and for all. Without MTV's live broadcasts of Woodstock in 1994 and 99, we never would have known about Green Day's Mud Fight, or when the Red Hot Chili Peppers ignited an all-hands-on-deck riot, oddly enough during their cover of Hendrix's Fire. That's why the Woodstock documentary was so important. Without it, there may not have been visual documentation of Hendrix's iconic performance, or anything else that happened during the festival. Of course, Michael Wadley, the documentary's director, claims that he played a big role in turning Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner into one of the most culturally significant moments of the era. In a 2012 interview with NBC's Today, if it weren't as powerfully photographed, it may not be as famous as it is today. That's a bit self-serving of him, but maybe he has a point. According to Mark Clegg, the associate professor of musicology at the University of Michigan, the film is what people remember, and today that performance can be found easily on YouTube. So it's alive again 50 years later. Considering only 30,000 people actually saw Hendrix play at the festival, and the documentary is the only visual recording of Hendrix playing the song, maybe Wadley's right. From the very beginning of his career, Hendrix had a wild spirit. He partied hard and led a very stereotypical rock star life. He was always surrounded by drugs, women, and all of the other usual celebrity trappings. He also had enough self-awareness to know that this lifestyle might be giving the public and his peers the wrong impression of him. In the November 15, 1969 issue of Rolling Stone, 3 months after Woodstock, Hendrix told reporter Sheila Weller, "I don't want to be a clown anymore. I don't want to be a rock and roll star." Hendrix admitted that he was trying to collaborate with jazz musicians and avant-garde experimentalists. He was worried that these serious artists would be turned off to the rock and roll cliches that seemed to follow him wherever he went. Maybe putting the Star-Spangled Banner into his set was a step heading in the direction of becoming a different musician, a mature musician who had begun moving past style and focusing on substance and higher-level art. After all, Hendrix's first major American appearance at the Monterey Pop Festival concluded with him setting his Stratocaster on fire and then smashing it onto the stage 7 times before throwing its remains into the audience. After that, every one of Hendrix's live audiences expected something as grandiose as a flaming guitar finale. He knew regular spectacles weren't sustainable. By the time he played Woodstock, Hendrix seemed like he was shedding his wild child image and maturing into a different musician. It's been over 50 years since Hendrix played the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock, yet fans and music historians still seem to be on a quest to unlock its hidden meanings and significance. When he was a guest on the Dick Cavett Show, Cavett asked him about the controversy that his performance of the song created. Hendrix immediately downplayed the incident, almost as if he regretted the song selection. "I don't know, man. All I did was play it. I'm American, so I played it." Hendrix didn't want to address the issue, but what do you think his intentions were? Was his version of the Star-Spangled Banner meant to be a protest song? A piece of performance art that was meant to hold up a mirror to the U.S. government? Or was it a sympathetic gesture to the millions of Americans who were trying to cope with a system that seemed to be in a constant state of disarray? With everything we know about Jimi Hendrix and the state of America during the summer of 1969, how do you think he wanted the song interpreted? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other music stories from our weird history.